first question comes from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Ross. I know the stadium's empty for the most part, but could you please put a shirt on during your running drills from now on?
I can't make that promise, man. I'm living at the beach. I got to keep up my bronze.
First of all, what was your reaction to David Price's announcement yesterday? And as a separate issue, how do you think this affects your role this year?
Right. Certainly can't, fault David for putting his family and his health as priority one, right? And choosing to opt out. I'm sure that was not an easy decision and one that weighed on him very hard. And I know that he loved our locker room and he was excited to be a Dodger, but, he chose to put his health and his family's health above playing baseball this year. So, no one in our locker room, staff, players, anyone is going to, judge him or think differently of him as a character and as a human being. So we'll miss him, that's for sure. And as far for me, I've been in this position before where kind of the odd man out looking for a rotation spot and, someone gets hurt or someone skips a start or whatever it might be. And I've always just said I want my name to be in the bucket as much as anyone else's. And, I think I'm as built up as probably anyone around baseball. I got 4 innings tomorrow. So, theoretically by July 23rd, I should be ready for 6 innings, maybe more. So, as long as I feel like I'm getting an opportunity as much as anyone else to fill in for David, that's great. But we'll see how it shakes out in the next few weeks.
How long have you been out in Southern California?
I got here the first week of June, so about a month.
And what have you been doing? Who have you been throwing to, that kind of thing?
Right, so there's been a group of about 8 or 9 of us here. That the hitters that I've been throwing to have been Seager, JT, DJ Peters, Chris Taylor was in there once. So I think those were about the 4 position players that were around. And then this last one I threw, Jock was in there. Let's see. That might be it. So, definitely getting tested early. We're all going to get tested having to run through our lineup in these live DPs.
Thanks, Ross.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
Next question comes to us from Michael Duarte. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, Strip, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. Quick question for you. 3 days into this now, and Justin Turner the other day talked about, spitting for baseball players is like blinking, especially pitchers, when you guys are doing your bullpens or you're throwing to hitters on the mound. So my question for you is, over these past 3 days, what of these new protocols and these new guidelines have been, I guess, easy to accept and go along with, and what have been a little bit more difficult to adapt to?
Well, I think that they're easy to accept, right? I think we understand that, the coronavirus is a real thing. We have to take precaution, and if spitting is a part of it, then that should be an easy one to accept. I threw a live BP next to Clayton last week, and he basically got on to throw his first pitch, and he spit. And instantly he was like, "Oh, we can't do that anymore." So it's in our heads. It'll be a tough habit to break, especially when you're in the heat of the moment. I'm staring down the Diamondbacks lineup. That's what I'm focusing on. Spitting might just be part of what I do, part of my, almost like pre-pitch routine that you don't even realize it's part of your muscle memory. So it will take some getting used to, but I think it's all in our heads. And when Clayton did that the other day, you kind of see, how, I guess, front and center it is in our mind that, he's in there trying to go live DP and he spit, and his first thought was, "Oh crap, I can't do that anymore." So, like the wet rag, I don't lick my fingers, so I won't have to make a big adjustment on that one. But I can see some people really battling that because that is such a muscle memory thing. You catch the ball, you put it in your glove, and you lick your fingers. That people have probably been doing that for 10 years. So it'll take some getting used to, but like I said, I think it's front and center in a lot of our minds. So hopefully not too long to stop doing those things.
Next question is from Ron Cervanka. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, Ross, you hear me okay?
Yeah, Ron, how you doing, man?
Good, brother. Just a couple real quick ones. One, are you healthy? Any health issues at all going into this thing?
Doing good, man. Physically and as far as the virus goes, me, my family, everyone's doing good.
Excellent. Also, you mentioned the wet rag. Is that a practicality? Is that something you guys have talked about? Is that something that you think you're going to utilize with this no spitting thing?
Well, it's kind of something we just talk about in passing, just kind of jokingly right now. I haven't actually sat down and thought about who on our team, on our staff actually licks their fingers. I know Alex Wood does a lot of he'll breathe into his hand a lot. I imagine he won't be able to do that, but I don't remember him actually licking his fingers. But right now we kind of joke about it because it just sounds kind of funny, like a wet rag in your pocket. Like, is it just going to be hanging out? Is it going to be stuffed in there? What's that going to look like? But, nothing, at least in the bullpens that I've seen guys throw, or the live VPs, I haven't seen anyone actually utilize a wet rag yet.
Also, one last thing. You mentioned that you're building yourself up and you're hoping to go 4 innings tomorrow. What's your target within the next week or so?
Well, theoretically, really we only have time for 3 build-ups, right, until the real thing. So it would be 4, 5, 6, and then basically sets me up for a start in that first series if that's what they want me to do in the role that I have. But at least I've always said no matter what in all this, I'll be a huge asset early because there will be a lot of guys that won't be able to go more than 3 or 4 innings this first turn or 2 times through the rotation. So I'll be soaking up innings, in my opinion, basically either way, whether I'm starting or not. But obviously I'd rather start. If I'm built up, feel like I can start, then I can fill right into that spot.
Thanks, Ross. You and Shelby, stay healthy, please.
Thanks, Ron. See you soon, man.
Next question is from Carrie Osborne. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hey, Ross. Back in March 12th, I think it was Dave laid out the 5-man rotation. Your name wasn't on that list. Can you tell us how you felt at the time?
Yeah, first off, Carrie, how you doing, man? I was disappointed at the time because I remember, wanting to feel like I had an opportunity to go earn a rotation spot and being told that I was going to get that opportunity. And Urias was announced the 4 before we even played a game in spring, and then Woody was announced the 5 a few days later when we were just, a few games into spring training. And I felt that I didn't really get a fair shake on trying to earn that spot. And that's not saying that Julio and Alex don't deserve it. I mean, heck, man, we got 7, 8 guys that could be in our starting rotation, right? So it's certainly not a shot at them. It's just that I guess I expected it to be more of an ongoing battle for the position throughout spring training, and then it was announced just a few games in. So, and I was disappointed. I was disappointed that I found out through the media before anyone told me in person, which kind of not a big deal. It went down that way, and they have since come to me and said that we should have told you in person first, which is totally fine, and there's no issues with that. But I've been in this position basically since I started as a Dodger, right? So I get built up, and then we see where we're at. And this spring, if everyone's healthy, I was going to start in the bullpen, but I was going to, stay built up, and hopefully, when an opportunity came, I was going to be in the mix as much as anyone for that starting spot. And now with David choosing to opt out, we're getting that, basically going to see that opportunity right off the bat.
This has kind of been the story of your career. And do you feel like with these opportunities kind of happening year after year, do you think that the competition has elevated you as a pitcher?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, man, just being a Dodger elevates you, right? I mean, it's not even talking about the Buehlers and the Kershaws of the world, but then you mix in the Gonsolins and the Dustin May, and even like a Josiah Gray, like these young kids that are so good, so young, and could start on probably 25 plus other big league teams. You have to raise your game. You have to be ready. And spring training is no longer a show up and get in shape and get your body ready. It's like show up ready to go. You're competing for a job from your first bullpen. At least me, and I'm in my 5th year, and I still feel that way. That I'm competing for a job every time I toe the rubber, whether it's a bullpen, an outing, a live BP, or whatever it is. So yeah, I think it elevates your game for sure because innings are at a premium as a Dodger, and they don't just hand them out because we're too talented and we expect to win. So any inning you get in a Dodger uniform, man, is earned.
Thank you, Ross.
Yeah, thanks, Gary.
Next question comes from Jack Harris of the LA Times. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Ross, how you doing?
Doing well, Jack.
Well, first, just some of the frustration you mentioned a minute ago about not being on that in the initial rotation. Is that stuff that you discussed with Doc and how is that flow of flow of communication go when it comes to, your kind of ever evolving role on the team the last couple of years?
Right. As a guy that's done this for 5 years, that's kind of been my thing from the start, is saying like, look, I like this role. I think I found a nice little niche role for myself where I can go both ways. I can start relief. I can get you one out in the eighth, or I can go 4 innings and long relief to bridge a short start to the back end of the bullpen. I'm totally fine with that. I like it. I think it's a unique role, and I enjoy being good at it. But I do want, a heads up and clarity if that role is changing, or if something, if a decision being made that kind of directly affects my role. And I've always been outspoken about that. And, that's just not the way it went down in spring training. I was not angry at Doc. I was not angry at Andrew Friedman. But, I just went up to them both and just said, like, look, I understand. Like, Julio and Alex Wood are very, very good pitchers. They deserve the 4 and the 5 spot. I just thought I was going to get a more fair shake at that opportunity. And they both said, yeah, we're sorry that it went down the way it did. You are a starter. We see you as a starter. It's just we're going to roll with them at 4 and 5 to start the year. You're the first guy in if something happens to anyone in the rotation. And, they said all the right things, but, obviously I just said I'd like to know ahead of time rather than finding out those kind of things on Twitter and things like that.
How, as Dave sort of evaluates who's going to take this open spot in the rotation, how different do you think it's going to be just when you don't have actual, full slate of spring games to go through, the competition aspect? How do you think it's going to change these next couple of weeks?
Well, it's going to be who's ready quickly, right? I don't know where Dustin May is as far as how he's been built up. I don't know even how Julio Urias is built up. I don't know what Gonsolin's done. So, and that may not even necessarily matter because we're going to have 30 guys. So, I think it's pretty understandable that a lot of starters are going to go short early across the league, and you're going to need bullpen guys that can go multiple innings. So whether I start or Dustin starts, Gonsolin, whoever it is, all 3 of us are going to be used early because we'll be able to go multiple innings. Obviously, you want the nod as a starter because you're kind of earn something when you get that nod. But basically, we all need to understand that we're all going to get used, and we're all going to be a big part of what we're trying to do because we're going to be built up to throw multiple innings and be able to bridge starters to the back end of the bullpen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Our next and final question will be Pedro Mora. Go ahead, Pedro.
Hi, Ross. I'm wondering, you said you didn't know where Dustin May's status was. Is it going to be weird, and how do you think you're going to handle this season? Like the idea that you're not going to be as in touch with your teammates as you would in a typical season, that everything's going to feel sort of disjointed, that other people's progress will be much more separate from you than in a typical season. And you're someone who really loves the clubhouse environment. What do you think that'll be like?
Well, yeah, great question. I feel for those young guys, for like a Dustin May or even like a Will Smith who got obviously, plenty of service time last year, but now really kind of probably feeling comfortable and coming into the locker room feeling like, he's one of the guys and he's not going to get the full feel of what a locker room atmosphere is really like. And I think it's just something we have to accept is hopefully just this year and we go out and we make the most of it and try and win 60 games and go from there, and hopefully 2021 is back to normal. But you're right, I do. I love the locker room setting. I love being able to just kick back and hang out with the guys, and even in the training room, is a good spot where a good kind of bridge between being able to kick back and also get work done and catch up with everyone and see what they did or see what they're up to and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be different, no doubt about it. But that's the way it is this year. I think we'll accept it and just try and keep up with each other as we can.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Pedro.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ross.